Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. So right now I'm in the ceramic studio, and honestly I haven't been standing on my P's and Q's when it comes to posting consistently. I'm so sorry. The school year has been so hectic. I'm taking 3 studios, which this is one of the classes that I'm in right now, and then I'm taking 2 painting classes, and I just have all these other classes that I have to take, well, quote unquote generals. I should also mention that this clay that I'm working with right now is the first time that I've ever worked with this type of clay. Usually I work with B-mix with no sand, but this is the first time that I'm working with, I think it's called dark brown clay, and it has tons of sand in it, which I wasn't mentally prepared for. Which you can see in the last couple of clips that literally my hand was so soft, and I just didn't like the way that how rough the clay was against my hands, but I've kind of gotten used to it after working with it for about a week now. I feel like because of my previous ceramic class, I low-key kind of have a bunch of bad habits, which I'm trying to figure out now that I'm taking like a throwing class just for like throwing and not like throwing and hand building. And not to like shade the professor or anything from my last semester class, but she just did hand building. We did throwing a little bit, but we didn't do very much of it just because her main thing is hand building. So that's kind of what we did in my ceramic survey class. Before I started filming this video, I had already been in this class for about a week or two, and I didn't realize how much everything was going to cost with this class. I only took like a very small bit of clips during this class just because it's very messy and I didn't want to risk getting clay on my camera, but low-key this whole time I've been like struggling pulling walls. But now we're in my painting class, and here is one of my still lifes that I'm working on. I believe before this video I've been working on this painting for about a week now, but as I'm speaking right now, this painting is due in literally like 2 days. This one and another still life. So basically we are working with one color. So everyone in the class, they were able to like choose the type of colors that we wanted to use based on whatever the professor's specifications were. And basically we were working with a cool color and a warm color of like blue, yellow, green, and red. I think those were the options. And as you can see here, obviously I chose green, and I'm kind of happy that one of the cool green is leaning more blue, so it really helps with some of like the highlights that I have going on in this painting. And so basically I'm using sap green and viridian green, and viridian green is a new color that I haven't used before, and this is honestly the first time ever using that type of I guess green. I was supposed to call it a blue, but to be honest I kind of utilize it like it's a blue now that I have it. And this still life that I'm painting, it was a still life that we all had to make, and basically the still life consisted of either black, white, or gray items, and it could be like a mixture of the bunch. And right now, if you can see like in the corner, I have my, I was about to call it a sketch, I have my still life printed out right there, so then I can see it and transfer it in whatever I was doing. At one point, I did actually have the still life in front of me. Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all, there was a good song playing. That's why I was dancing. But at some point, the still life was actually in front of me. So basically, I had my Doc Marten, my camera, one of my favorite books. I had jewelry. The little like drapery that's going on is actually a scarf. And then I have my Billie Eilish perfume that's in my shoe because I just love that perfume down. I will say for majority of the project, well, not even majority of the project, I think at first I was just kind of upset that we were doing a still life because low-key I'm so sick and tired of doing still lives. I've been doing it since I started. Like, I don't want to do another still life. But I think now I'm starting to get into like the groove of like the still life. And also it doesn't have to be like hyper realistic. So like my second painting that I'm working on, which I don't remember if it's in this video. Wait, no, it's definitely not in this video because I didn't start it yet while I was filming. And speaking about the second painting, even though it's not in this video, I feel like I should speak about it a little bit. Honestly, the second painting is much more harder than this one, just because this one we're just using 2 colors, but in the other one we have to make up the colors since it's like black and gray. Okay, so this painting that I'm working on is for a different painting class. So I'm taking a figure painting class because if y'all have watched my content for a while, we all know I don't really paint figures that often. I'm trying to get more into painting figures just because like I want to be able to do things outside my comfort zone and actually like get better at my craft. So basically in my figure painting class, we were assigned to do a master copy, and this is the master copy that I ended up choosing. I definitely had some that were like much more difficult than this one. I mean, this one was still difficult, but I had some that had like almost 20 figures in it. And let me tell you some of the specifications that my professor wanted. He said that he wanted at least 3 figures. So in this one, there's 4. I wish that I filmed some of the process of like me initially putting on the sketch and like moving it around. I moved this figure so many times just because I couldn't get the composition right, but this is the closest that this is gonna get, to be honest. And to be honest, I'm fairly like happy with how it's coming out so far, just because like, as I said before, I do struggle with making it figures, and as like the fact that it looks this good already is kind of like a relief. And at some point during this painting, definitely during like the beginning stages of this painting, I was crashing out. Like some of my classmates definitely, like, I was like, yeah, I just gotta put it away because it was making me upset, the composition. And I'm one of those people that I can't put in like values or highlights or anything of that sense until I like the composition that I have like going on, and that I think it's accurate to what I'm looking at. I will say, if anybody is like taking an art class or in like art school for like college, at the college level, I would recommend everyone taking a figure painting class. Like even if you don't like paint like that, I will say honestly, my figure painting class has essentially brought me the most value. Well, maybe if you're like good at painting people already, I don't know how much more. Well, you can always gain value from a class if you just, I don't know, there's always some way you can gain value. But I feel like particularly for this class, I would say that this class has definitely brought me the most value. Another thing that I also learned while being in art school, the paint that you get definitely matters. Well, I've always known that it matters, but I always thought that there was never really a significant difference. At least, okay, when I'm speaking about like acrylics, obviously there's like a difference between like acrylic paints that are like heavy body and acrylic paints that aren't heavy body. But when it comes to oil, I couldn't really tell the difference. But when I put them side by side, the saturation difference is very apparent when you were comparing a cheaper brand versus a more expensive brand. And I understand why my professor had such a problem with us purchasing anything that was like Blick brand. For example, like I had a sap green, and I had basically the sap green. One was a cheaper version and one was a more expensive version. For this semester, I decided to spend more money on like my craft. Obviously, if I want to be a full-time painter, then I should invest in the craft of being a full-time painter. Honestly, when I saw the different greens, I didn't realize how apparently different that they are. Like I thought I almost purchased the wrong green, but like the one that was more expensive, it was just like extremely more saturated. I would say saturated probably by like 30%. And I'm trying to remember the price, and I feel like the price difference wasn't that significant, but I think at the time when I bought the cheaper brand, it was that significant at the time. I believe the price difference was probably around like $3 to $5, maybe on the $5 mark. Now, as far as paintbrushes, I haven't. One thing I will say, I love a brush that is very long, like the brush that I'm using right now. Before I went to college, all of my brushes were like super short, but like now I work with much longer brushes, which I would say honestly is way better than like one of the small brushes that I used to use. Now, as far as quality, I don't know. Honestly, as long as the bristles don't follow the brush, I'm pretty okay. But as far as like a more expensive brush and a cheaper brush, I don't know if I've actually noticed the difference. But I guess I would have to try out a little bit more brushes just to see if there's like a significant difference between how one functions over the other. I will say also my painting class. So one of my painting classes uses glass, which I prefer using glass as my palette, and my other painting class uses a wood palette that we have to hold. I'm not gonna lie, I already don't really like holding stuff, and the fact that we have to hold like a wood palette for our painting class is like not really my cup of tea. But basically what I've understood about my undergrad program is that when you're in undergrad and you're an art student, basically the purpose of it is to introduce you to all sorts of ways of painting, creating art, just like trying different ways to create art instead of just like what you know. And basically the whole point of him having us buy like a wood palette is for us to introduce like a different way of, I don't know, just like ways that you can hold a palette or if you don't want to use paper, if you don't want to use glass, well, there's wood if you prefer holding your palette instead of just having it on the countertop like I usually do. And I realized for this particular semester, or even like my junior year, I want to take more chances on really tapping in on other art styles, just so I can see for myself if that art style is for me and not just sticking to the things that I usually do. Anyway, we're getting to the end of the video. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching my little TED Talk and my art journey. If you guys support the channel, please leave a like and subscribe and comment, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.